Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to show you the ending of the game between Fabiano Caruana and GM Azoria with the black pieces that just took place in the U.S. Championship. So by now it's pretty much well known that Izoria upset Caruana here, and I just want to take a quick look at the game from move 34. It's white to move in here. Uh, on move 33, Azoria had just offered a queen trade here, and is offering Caruana a chance to go into this ending. Now, the game is equal here. Black has done well to defend the position arising from a Giuoco piano, and basically, White really doesn't have too many prospects at all. If anybody has prospects, it's Black because White has this weak pawn on e4. So Azoria is rated about 2600, Caruana 2800, and so perhaps if Azoria was playing a weaker player, perhaps even Black would try to press in this position and go for the win. However, he offers the trade of queens, and this queen takes g5, for example, would not be good for Caruana at this point, as it would be a fresh attacker to the e4 square. So Caruana, in this instance, rightfully avoids the queen trade. Azoria offers another opportunity, and it looks like we would have some type of repetition here. Caruana avoids the trade, and finally he makes a different move. So he plays bishop d3 and he avoids the repetition. Now, here is an interesting psychological dilemma that happens when you have a higher rated player playing a lower rated player. And depending on the tournament, sometimes the higher rated player feels uh, an obligation to try and win the game uh, in these type of positions. So, for instance, if it was say Caruana and Carlson playing, or Anand or someone like that, Caruana might have accepted the draw with no problem. However, being 200 points higher in rating, and possibly feeling that, hey, I should beat this guy, he continues to press on. Sometimes this is good, of course. Uh, the stronger player usually has a less chance of making a critical error as the game goes on, and the percentages play out in the stronger player's favor. So here is a possible look inside of Caruana's head here. So the queens are traded off. Knight takes f3, and again, looking at the position, it is only white who has any real weakness in the position. So we're gonna just go kind of quickly through this phase of the game. As we see, the weakness is fixed here on e4, and then Caruana tries to undermine uh, this pawn phalanx here, playing h5, and to either trade off this pawn or provoke this pawn forward. The bottom line is to create access to this square, either by this pawn coming up to a g5 or just being traded off for the h pawn here. Therefore, Izoria plays h5, preventing that idea. King comes up to the center, and now you'll see some maneuvering. If you look at the position, the this bishop here is pretty much optimally placed for white. So the only pieces that kind of need to be re repurposed, so to speak, are probably these knights. So knight d2, and now we go through this phase of maneuvering. Now here, Caruana is trying to engineer a break over here in the b file. Knight e7, and this knight is taking a long journey over here. And in the closed positions, you can get away with moves, long-winded maneuvers like this. Knight e3, and this knight. So this knight has made the big trip all the way to over to h6 from c7. Should be e2. Of course, keeping an eye on this square right here. Notice the bishop and knight are bearing down on it, so this bishop drops back here. Keep an eye on g4. So now f5. b3. Caruana goes along with his plan. Rook takes b3. And now c4. c4 hits the rook, but creates a weakness in the fact that a backward pawn has been created on b5. So rook b4. And the idea looks simple enough, right? Just double up on the b file. And then possibly at some point even not even sack a piece, but capture this pawn on c4 just due to the tactical liability on the b file. F takes e4 and rook e b1. So this is what Caruana obviously has in mind here. So play continued. Rook a8. So Izoria avoids the tactical disaster of getting this pawn captured. And the bishop is doing a good job defensively. Keeping an eye on that pawn and also keeping an eye on this diagonal right here. So now Izoria focuses his sights on the a3 pawn. a4. Rook takes a4. Rook takes. And b takes a4. Now, this is an interesting position here because Caruana has sacrificed a pawn, however, but these pawns are nothing to, for black that is, these pawns are nothing to be too proud about. And just looking at them, it looks like they'll be easily captured. After all, there's 3 pieces lined up on the c4 square. Okay, so that pawn shouldn't be going anywhere. The e4 pawn is blockaded, and the a4 pawn is isolated. Right, so the sacrifice should be easily recovered by white, and so Caruana's plan seems to be quite effective of just playing on in the position, and his strength seems to be showing up here. Captures the pawn, and so now black is only up 1 pawn. Knight f7, and now rook to the 7th. So now, what does white have in compensation for his pawn deficit? Well, his pieces are better placed now. It's a powerful rook on the 7th. Knight blockading on the e4 pawn on e3, and this knight on c4 has excellent scope, putting pressure on the d6 pawn. And black's pieces are somewhat bunched up together. This bishop is a very powerful piece here, except that it's a little bit vulnerable now that the rook has made it to the 7th rank. This looks very awkward for black with this knight here on f7 and the bishop on d7, and then this knight here on f8 looks really awkwardly placed here. So although white is down a pawn, he has definite compensation here, and actually prefer white's position a little better here. Now, with that said, what is black's goal? Black has to realize his pawn plus. However, before he does that, he must repurpose his pieces. He has to get him, kind of get him out of this entanglement, basically, that they're in. If he can do that, then he stands to become better himself, because he is up a pawn. So first, he gets out of the pin, king f6, or any pinning possibilities, that is. Now, Bishop D1 by Caruana. Again, this is what I was saying, is although black was up material, their pawns are so weak that after improving the position, Caruana could just start picking off the pawns. Rook A8, Knight B6, Rook D8, Knight E4. Now, there's no rush. He just continues to improve. Again, where is this pawn really going? Caruana's playing well here. Caruana played Knight D2. Now, even here, after Bishop takes A4, there's nothing wrong with this move. He could have recovered his pawn immediately if he wanted to. Okay, so we see that Bishop takes A4 is perfectly fine also. And with this possible continuation. Moves like Knight H6, Rook B6, right, piling up on the pawn, King E7, and you have a game where White maintains some slight pressure on the position. Is it winning? No, of course not. But this is what you're looking for if you're Caruana in this situation. However, he doesn't want to capture the pawn right away, and he just continues to pressure the position. And the idea is to play C4 here, and then capture the pawn. So not only is he hitting the bishop again, fortifying this pawn, he's also threatening to capture the E4 pawn that's weak and the A4 pawn. So he's trying to get a lot out of this position. Bishop D3 from Izoria. So this pawn protects, and he decides to give up that one. So King E3. Knight E5. And now Bishop takes A4 here. So now we can see that the pawn, the material is now even here. But again, Black has somewhat improved his pieces. Remember, they were all bunched up before a few moves ago, and now they have all, not all of them, but the knight on E5 and the bishop on D3 specifically have greatly improved their scope in the position. However, White still has this dominating rook on the 7th rank, and it makes it a little bit uncomfortable and awkward for Black to move his pieces in his own territory. You see how the coordination of the knight, bishop, and rook, for instance, keep Black from using the D7 square, for example. This pawn is still under scrutiny here after bishop takes A4. So what is Black going to do about that? G5. H takes G5 check. H takes G5, and now Caruana goes up a pawn, right? Knight takes E4 check. Bishop takes E4. King takes E4. So everything is according to plan, right? He sacrificed material to kind of penetrate Black's position, weaken his pawn structure, and now it is Caruana who is up a pawn. All right, so everything is going according to plan. Not only is he up a pawn, ladies and gentlemen, but his pieces also are better. Okay, remember the Capablanca's maxim: position first, then material. Knight FG6. Knight D7. Rook C8. So we see Izoria trying to fight back here. Bishop C6. Knight takes C6. D takes C6. And now Rook takes C6. Now, this is where I felt Caruana started to err a little bit in the position. For example, instead of Knight d7. Perhaps just a more subtle move like bishop b5, avoiding this exchange on c6 at some point. And then if need be, slow play with the move like c4. However, we can see that this sequence is based on a miscalculation here. So rook c8, right? He allows that because Caruana is banking on having this pass pawn be the savior for the day. So this is why he willingly allows this continuation, right? He's just not giving up a pawn just for the heck of it. He's basically trading one of those pawns for this pawns in his mind. And then he's going to have this guy just be a free passer. After all, right, after king d4, knight f4, c4, right? He even gives up this pawn. King d5, and his idea is, hey, this guy will move away, and I'll just eventually be able to clip this pawn. Rook c8. Right? Knight protects this guy. Right? And now he can just take. That's what he's thinking. However, this reigns on a parade after knight e3 check. So for example, king d6, you just have knight takes c4 with a similar ending that actually happened in the game. King e6. Now the rook comes back. And of course, not knight takes c4 because this guy is will be captured. So this idea behind king e6 is basically to just capture this pawn without losing the c pawn. Rook c6, king d7. And so here's Caruana's idea. Certainly this rook has to, right, move or give itself up. After all, like for instance, rook c5 again. It's king d6 here. And if a move like knight takes c4, then of course king takes. So Caruana's banking again on winning this pawn and then just sliding this, just queening. However, after knight takes c4, Izoria just gave up the rook. And it's based on their old time tactic. It's called the fork. The knight a5. Caruana gets his pawn back. Okay, and now we go into this pure knight ending. And this is one of the worst case scenarios for the weaker side in the knight ending. Is you have a far away advanced pass pawn. Right, the king is already 2 files away. And knights are terrible at stopping outside or pass pawns, period, but especially outside pass pawns. Of course, there are always problematic situations or study problems where black or the weaker side can draw, but in this particular situation, there's no draw here. So after knight takes b7 check, Caruana goes to d5, and one of the main ideas is to get on this diagonal right here and try to cut off the pawn, but the king is just too far away here. Those of you familiar with the famous Reddy study where the king has to get on the diagonal. Perhaps a more practical move would be king e5, but still, I mean, after h4, there's really no way to get over. You just block out the king. Right? You just shoulder him out. What do you do? However, that would provide a more practical chance. Caruana played king d5, king f4. Again, just shouldering out the king. Knight comes in, and the knight is just too slow for these type of operations. Here's the last ditch effort, of course, is to create a situation whereby, of course, the pawn cannot be pushed without being captured. The second scenario is to try to create a situation whereby the king and pawn are so close together that the knight can check and sacrifice itself for the pawn at some point. Those are the only two ways that white can usually, excuse me, the weaker side can usually stop that pawn. It's when the king is far away. Knight d8. Again, notice the properties of the king, shielding and keeping the opposing king from getting over. King d5, knight e5, and now this knight is coming in to try to deflect this knight away from the defense. d4, knight g4. Notice again, Caruana threatened to penetrate here. King blocks him off. Now again, you got the shield, and then with the knight here, you have an additional square covered. So all of these squares are covered. There's no way for the king to get over, so that leaves this guy by itself, and also this square is covered. Very important. So Izoria is ready to attack this knight directly with the king. Another important square covered by the knight is that square. So all of the important squares where this knight on f1 could go to try to keep the h-pawn from promoting have now been covered. And this is why Caruana resigned at move 81, because there is no place for the knight to go, and that pawn on h3 will promote. Alright, that is it for this video. Again, please like, subscribe, and check out the links below. There's some books, DVDs about this opening, and I'll see you guys on the next video.